the universe is constantly making love with itself. You don't necessarily need a partner to practice Tantra. You can just practice meditation and you're still practicing Tantra.
Hey, Sophie.
Hey, Michael.
Good.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining me.
Happy to be here.
There seems to be a lot of confusion about what Tantra actually is. So I would like for you to tell us what do you think is Tantra?
So I love that you asked that question, because usually the first thing what people think about when they hear the word Tantra is sexuality. And yes, it is a big part of Tantra. But how I would describe Tantra, it's this like embrace and acceptance of everything. So that includes, bodily sensations. That includes everything. And that was pretty new. Like people would always feel like they had to go like out of their body or go somewhere else to reach certain states of enlightenment. And with Tantra, it was more this new idea of everything that's right here, right now, where it's already here. And that includes, our body and our sensations and our sexuality. So it's not like one thing is better than the other or less than the other. It's more about, this embracing of everything that is.
What's the purpose of Tantra?
I would say to be fully alive, to be fully here now, in our full expression, our full potential.
So what do you see as the big obstacles that people face as they're going through tantric practice or just any practice? What do you see as holding people back?
So when things happen to us, like in our lives, we start to create these layers of protection. And like when we get some kind of shock to our system, it can be big or small, it can lead to this closure of our heart, of our being, of our bodies.
So in the work that you do, are there particular traumas that you see coming up more than others?
I mean, most of the time it's the heart. That's like the first thing, or people have this like closing. And the heart is the center really of our feeling. So when our heart is disconnected, it shows up in everything. And that can happen, through not really receiving the love that we wanted as we were younger. And then of course, if we went through a difficult breakup and we never really got a chance, or we didn't know how to really release that shock that's now like stored in our nervous system.
So a lot of the protection is around the fear of being hurt again, or the pain of that.
Being hurt, that's a big one. And also just not really feeling safe to really express ourselves as we like truly are, to just being open and vulnerable in everything, because we all, certain parts of ourselves, they're more desirable, more welcoming than other parts. So we just get conditioned that way as a child. If you cry, it's like, it's bad. You're not supposed to cry, especially for men. So these parts of us, like they can just get like pushed away. It's like, oh, these parts of us are not loved. So that's like from the outside, but even within ourselves, we start to not really want to connect to these parts of us. And then it creates this, like almost like an inner war on subtle levels.
So it sounds like the protection mechanism causes this practice of just being numb.
Yeah. Yes, it's like,
wow.
This numbness, that's the perfect word for it, because so many people, it's in different like degrees, like people are very often like, okay, I just feel kind of flat, I feel just disconnected, but it's really from this numbness, from this protection. But it's such an unconscious process that a lot of people, they just think that that's the normal state, or they're like, this is all to life? I'm like, I feel like there's more, but how to yeah, how to get there, how to experience this.
So how do you get through that? What's the practice or the protocol?
So like staying like on the Tantra topic, like really like working with the body. So,
Okay.
I mean, it can be really helpful, you know, to talk about things and to really get clarity and to get a deeper understanding. This is great. But to really work on a deeper level, to work with our physical body, to really feel like where in our body are we numb? Where do we hold tension? And like learning how to release these things. And from there, creating more space to like literally have this life force energy like flow through your body more and feeling more, and to go to the parts that feel numb, and to ask yourself like, what is behind that? What am I trying not to feel? And what's the story behind that? And then on a very like physical level to release that and to reawaken and reactivate like this life force that you really are, but you just sort of have been hiding away because it was not safe. So it's like literally like coming back to like more of yourself, and that in itself is going to give you so much more like aliveness and joy and purpose.
When you find something, let's say a numb spot or maybe a tender spot in your body, how do you go about releasing it?
So the first thing is to just like, because if you recognize it, that's already a huge thing. So just really try to connect to it, like physically connect to it with your hands, and just like create the awareness and the presence around it. And then what helps a lot is to ask, like, it's like you're talking to your body almost. This might sound kind of crazy and new to some people, but just see what happens if you talk to yourself, to your body, to just say like, okay, what's behind this? Why? What's underneath this? And then just sending love and presence. And if you do that for a while, it's like literally your body starts to be able to open up more, and to it can, for example, if you do this very often, there's some kind of release. Like all of a sudden you feel a certain sadness that you never really allowed yourself to feel, or sometimes it can be literally a memory. So to like really release what is there, and also through like physical movements, like shaking, like following any intuitive movements that come when you connect to this numbness, to let the body release. There's so much like wisdom and intelligence in our bodies. So if you learn how to tap into this movement and create this mind-body connection, it can be so helpful.
Do you recommend dancing for people that you're working with?
Yes. Yeah, dancing it's perfect, because if you learn how to tap into, these natural instinctual movements of your body, that's really where so much magic is. So dancing is perfect, because I mean, if people are really able to really drop in their body, to let the music help with that. But yeah, that's a good one.
Is there a particular kind of dance that you find to be more helpful?
I mean, any dance that gives you the space to just move as you want. So where you have the freedom,
and not choreographed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that really allows your body to speak on its own, to really tap into these natural movements.
Yeah, I have a little bit of experience with ecstatic dance, and it's weird. It's like, even if the lights are low and you can look around and no one's paying attention to you, it still feels so awkward to really just move however my body wants to move.
Oh yeah.
There's so much. Yeah, I mean, I never really thought about it in terms of like protection in an emotional sense, but just the feeling of being judged or not accepted for however I want to be.
Yeah. Because it's in a way, it's such a vulnerable space to be in. And that's really our deepest, like that rules so much of our behavior. Yeah, it's just this needs to be, to belong, to be accepted, to be loved. And it really goes back to these like deepest part of us. And like, even I've been doing ecstatic dance for so long now, and still I get these moments where I'm like, what's going on? Like, it goes so deep, but usually like when you stay with it and just release that, like physically release that through your body, then, I'm able to get back into my own space, into my authenticity, to move as I want and feel this like wholeness in that. But I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I'm curious about you personally. What are you working on?
What am I working on? I feel like I've been doing so much work on really like connecting to my body, opening my body. And I feel like now I'm in a space where I'm like so aware and so sensitive, but sometimes it can become kind of overwhelming. So I've been really working on, first of all, staying connected to my own energy and not be so constantly tuning into other people's energy. So that's one thing that I've been working on. And then also, learning how to really navigate this sensitivity within myself, which in a way is like, I'm so happy that I'm at this level of feeling so much, because I was the one who used to be like super numb, really disconnected. I barely really felt any pleasure in my body. So to have now the complete opposite, it's so exciting. But at the same time, I have to, go back to deeper levels of safety within myself. And to, also stay grounded.
Do you find that you're energetically susceptible? I mean, so in the spiritual context, when you don't have really strong boundaries, you're liable to take on other people's emotional energy. Mm-hmm. And do you find that happens for you?
It used to happen a lot. And so when you start doing this kind of work, I'm so happy you brought up boundaries, because that's like one of the first things that I really want people to get, that it's so important to have healthy boundaries. But I think where it starts is to really be clear on yourself, what it is that you want, what it is that you don't want, and to just create this awareness around consent, because it's so often that things just happen because we don't think about it, but then it just drains our energy. So to have this awareness around it, and listen to yourself, knowing what feels right, what doesn't feel right.
So you mentioned sex, and we talked about this in the beginning, but how does Tantra relate to sex?
So like part of Tantra is working with our sexual energy. So to really use this energy to like move it through our bodies, and to also to let go of any like preconception or conditioning of really what your sexuality is supposed to look like. Because I mean, most of us, we grew up, we never really seen like real people actually having sex, like what just flows naturally. We either, like most of us have watched porn, or there's Hollywood movies, but that's not really real life. And it creates all these like ideas of what our sexuality is supposed to look like. So that's like another big part of Tantra, is to like let go of all these ideas. And with that comes all the shame, all the judgment, all the guilt, and just be like with what's real in this like sexual state. Like what feels authentic to you, and then do you feel safe enough to actually express that? Because that's that's another story, because it's so vulnerable.
Yeah. So it sounds like the practice of Tantra is really just becoming with healthy boundaries more and more vulnerability.
Yeah. And I find, I don't know, sometimes the word vulnerability, it feels like it's a weakness or something, but it's more about really, yeah, opening to really who you really are. And now it sounds really corny, but to yeah, be with that power, because it is really powerful, and then feel safe to really be that in the world and express that and connect to people from that in that space.
So why is it so easy to confuse sex with intimacy?
Well, a lot of people, they use sex to feel a sense of connection. And I mean, sex can be like the most beautiful way to actually experience intimacy, but a lot of the time it can also feel, yeah, not as connective, or it can be a way for people, you know, they just want to have sex because they crave a sense of connection, but then afterwards it just feels empty, or it just feels not as fulfilling after a while.
Yeah. So the way you're making it sound is that sex as it's normally practiced is usually just like it's a fake form of affection.
I mean, I mean that's kind of, that's one extreme. Yeah, it can be like that. I mean, I guess what I'm meaning more is also that there's so much more connection that is possible, and that's a lot of times, like, people, they, you know, it's they feel pleasure, it's good, it's nice, but that there's so much more beyond that, like deeper intimacy, like more energy and connecting in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's like the basic platform of sex, but then you can use that as a way of facilitating so much deeper connection and intimacy. The analogy that comes to mind is like having a Ferrari, but just using it as a table.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. Or it's what comes to mind, but with me, is that most people, like, their bodies are like this, like a Ferrari, but they don't even realize what they have access to. So it's like you have this car, but you never really drive it.
Yeah. So if you wanted to start a tantric relationship with someone, how would you go about that?
So, I mean, first thing is to create deeper intimacy with each other. And that is first, like, really, yeah, getting more clear and more exploring what is in the way of connecting more authentically with each other. You can do things like eye gazing, because it's so vulnerable, it's so intimate, and just see what happens with that. That's like a really powerful way to connect in that way. Yeah, and then bringing more openness with each other, really talking about, like, what are, like, one, like, really simple practice that I always recommend to people is just to do a basic little, like, practice. Like, it's great before having sex, and just to ask each other, okay, what are your loves, what are your fears, and what are your desires? So it's like you intentionally create this safe space where you can create this deeper intimacy, where you can be more real with each other. And really from that's where you connect more and more deeply.
Oh, that's great advice. I like that. I think I'll use it.
Yes. It's so good. So simple, but so good.
So I'm curious, what's your opinion about polyamory?
I mean, I think it's really all about truly feeling within yourself what's right for you. Because I've seen so often that people, they just do it because their partner wants to do it, or because everyone else is doing it. So I think, you know, for some people it works really well, and I think it's a really great way to really connect deeper to what are your fears, what are your wounds, because it's so yeah, it can bring up a lot. So it can be a really beautiful, like intense way to really go to these places. And yeah, but I guess the biggest thing for me is to like, is this really something that's good for me? Like, am I really listening to myself? And yeah, really being honest about that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious because I know that a lot of people that are in the Tantra practices, they have polyamory as part of their lifestyle. And yet I personally, in my experience, I don't know that I've ever seen that be successful. I'm not sure I've seen one time where open relationships or polyamory were successful. So, and I get that, like, you know, what you're saying, the theory of it, where you can, you know, go into like, like my issues of self-worth or insecurities or abandonment, and that gets provoked and triggered and you work through it. Like, I get that, but it's so traumatic that it actually becomes counterproductive.
Yes. Yeah. It's very tricky for sure. And I have to be honest, I haven't really seen any, I mean, successful polyamorous relationships. And I do feel like for most people to really have this sense of security and this, like, you know, this trust, that what really gives people a space to open more and more deeply. So it's interesting because I've seen more and more like people who practice Tantra. They were all about the polyamory, but then they realized that, okay, if I really want to have a practice where I'm really able to go like deeper with someone and have this space of trust, that can create a really powerful space too. Then, you know, that's you wouldn't feel like deep down, you wouldn't really feel as as able to go there. And I mean, I think it's just so important to have a space of like open communication, because of course there's going to be desire coming up for other people, but to just be able to talk about that and feel that, and not, you know, that creates already such a relief, I feel, in a relationship. And it doesn't mean that you have to be polyamorous. It's natural.
So if someone's in a monogamous relationship and they feel attracted to someone else, you would recommend that they share that with their partner?
I mean,
that sounds super dangerous.
I mean, I guess it's more to acknowledge it. It's not like you're like, well, hi baby, I was like really attracted to this other person today. I think it's more just this acknowledgement, I mean, within yourself, I guess, to feel like it's okay to not feel like really judgmental that sometimes you're attracted to someone else, and that creates this conflict. And it's like, it's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I'm in a monogamous relationship right now, and that has come up a little bit. But like you said, it can be very tricky to say, to be present with that feeling, but then also to be sensitive to how it will be received.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I was talking to a, you know, and I have guys, friends that are married for 10 years and plus, and I was like, you know, does it ever seem like it just completely goes away, like you just don't see other women? Like, no, it doesn't. I mean, we're human, and that's the way life is. But you make choices. So, but it was really good for me to actually have those conversations, because like you said, then having those kinds of thoughts don't provoke any guilt or shame or like any questions of like, oh, maybe this relationship isn't right for me because I had that thought. Well, no, everyone has thoughts like that. Get over it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I love that you're able to talk about these things with your male friends, because that might be a better option than talking about it with your partner, because it's, yeah, obviously can be triggering.
Right. Part of doing these interviews is getting out information to the public, and then it's always such a joy when I actually start learning new things for myself, as opposed to feeling like I'm just conveying information out.
Yeah. So I love that you're doing this.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. It's been great.
Yeah. Thanks for reaching out to me. I really enjoyed that. Great.
Well, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
In the moment of orgasm, send out your intention, because it's at that time that you're actually at your peak of power.
Yeah. Second. Yeah.